Today my main focus of my topic of my speech was initially planned to be focused on cultural diplomacy instruments and the cross-border cooperation, for which Bulgaria is in charge, and we have a lot of challenges in our cross-border cooperation with the neighboring countries. However, I was touched by some of the words that the previous speaker, my colleague minister from Greece, shared with you on the migration. So I would maybe use this opportunity first to say a few words about the migration crisis, the situation in Bulgaria. Together with Greece, we are neighboring countries, and Bulgaria is indeed in the front line of the refugee flow as well. Having quite a big border with Turkey, we are really suffering a lot as well from the refugee flow, and I would like to share with you our position, where we are, and what are really the challenges now we are facing. Because as the Minister of Greece mentioned a few moments ago, indeed the biggest flow we are suffering, because we are the external border of the European Union, is the flow coming from Turkey. But and we are, all of us as citizens, as people, as governments, are really worried of the situation in Syria, and we really are looking forward and trying to put all our efforts needed to help those people, to provide but to those people really suffering from war, to those families who are really trying to find a better place of living, to find a new to find a possibility really to not to become death. But at the same time, and we are working quite well, trying to establish special educational programs, integration programs for those children, for those families who are really refugees. They are really coming and really trying to escape from the war which we see in Syria. And this is our target, and this is where we need to focus all our efforts. However, the situation in reality is different, because since the whole crisis has started, we have already had more than 18,000 illegal refugees, migrants, which were catched by our border control and police forces. And on the other side, we have more than 6,000 people located in special temporary established centers and sites all over. But if we look in the statistics, we really see that more than 50% of those people are not Syrian families. These are economic migrants. The biggest 50% of the people which are located in those centers are from Afghanistan. Then we have some people from Iraq, Pakistan, and Africa. And really, the percentage of Syrian families is quite a minor percentage in comparison to all the others. So this is where we need, we in all countries, European countries, all countries in global terms, we need to focus our efforts, because we really do need to stop the war. We do need to find the best ways to stop it, to help the Syrian families and people, and really to protect their human rights. On the other side, we do have to have very united measures of really protecting. The Europe is changing, it is the fact. However, we have the economic migrants, which are using the flow of the refugees suffering from the war, and using this flow and trying really to allocate Europe. So these are the challenges ahead of us, and we need to be united more than ever. And cultural diplomacy and the instruments of the cultural diplomacy are one of the ways really to overcome the situation, because it is obvious that a war could not be stopped with a war. We need peaceful measures, we need intelligent measures, but we don't need a war. A war could not be stopped. This is something which I personally believe. So I just wanted to mention a few words about the migration flow challenges which we do face as well. as a border country, because indeed it is the biggest challenge for all of us, because Europe is changing, the world is changing. And the tendency and the situation with migration flows, with terrorist attacks. Today, this morning, I heard that there was a new attack in Istanbul, in Turkey. So a lot of people died today and were injured. So this is something which this is let's say this is the threat of tomorrow, and these are the challenges for which we need to work on. I think all of us, citizens, government, non-government representatives, we need to find certain ways to overcome the situation. Where we are in Bulgaria for the moment, as I mentioned, I'm a second mandate Minister of Regional Development. We had a 4 years mandate. Then we were 1 year in opposition. Now this is our second year of our mandate as a government. We are a center-right government, a coalition government formed of several political parties, but with the direction of European People's Party, we are a center-right party. However, following the presidential elections of a few months ago in Bulgaria, we resigned as a government, but we are still operating in the governmental offices, and we are forthcoming early elections in April this year, because the wave of populism, the wave of nationalism, which is really rising in Europe as well in our country, really led to new formations, more populistic parties, more nationalistic parties, with their strong messages against refugees, against certain, let's say, European goals and objectives were having were in the focus of the campaigns, and that led us to become really in a position to resign and to see in early elections what should be the decision of the Bulgarian citizen. However, we in economic terms, I might say, we are really proud as a country that we managed to have more than 3% economic growth for this year, for 2016. And we are, as of December this year, and second place out of 28 European Union countries for economic growth. And really our indicators and financial indicators are proving to have really significant growth in the economy. Something with which I was not fully agreeing with the previous speaker, my colleague, Minister of Social Affairs of Greece, was about the measures and left and right measures of the government on how the economy can grow. What I can say that the way we have achieved the economic growth, the way we have achieved the stability of the economy, and this success, let's say, in our economic results, was the strict fiscal policy. We decided to keep the lowest taxes in Europe. Indeed, in fact, we have a flat rate tax of 10% for both for the industry and for the incomes, for the people's income, and we decided to keep the lowest taxes. However, the strict fiscal policy led to keep the threshold of debt up to 3% and really to invest in more measures, in more, let's say, incentives for the investors to come to invest in our country, using the best opportunities for investment, using the lowest taxes in Europe, and at the same time really keeping the fiscal policy and having clear expenditure of the government to be equal to the incomes. Because the problem of the economic crisis of Greece, for example, was that the expenditure of the state, the expenditures of the government were much more higher than the incomes of the state. And this endangered their economy, and this led the economy of Greece to the, let's say, economic crisis they do have and they do suffer from. However, we decided to have more balanced approach, to have balanced budget from the point of view of incomes and expenses. And I think this helped us and to have the results we are having today. This is more or less where we are as an economy, as a political situation, as a state. A few words of the main topic of my presentation is the neighborhood policy, the cross-border cooperation. I might say, as I already mentioned, Bulgaria is located in Southeast Europe, and we are really on the northeast part of the Balkans Peninsula. And our geographic location provides that we are kind of on a crossroad between the Middle East and Asia, having on one side the Black Sea and all the countries on the Black Sea. We are on the crossroad from Turkey, from Asia and Middle East and Africa, and of course and being the external border of the European Union, but our bordering countries are different countries. Not all of them are members of the European Union like us, and this provides an opportunity, provides challenges to have different relations. We have different cultures, different religions, but at the same time, our people are living together, working together, especially in the border regions. Our country, our north border of the country is the famous Danube River. This river was dividing us. It's a special, I mentioned on the word dividing us with our neighbors on north with Romania. For many years, the Danube River was dividing us with Romania. We used to have only one bridge along the almost 400 kilometers of our border along the Danube River with Romania, and we used to have only one bridge. So within the last 15 years, we worked a lot with our neighbors in Romania in cross-border cooperation. We have built new bridges, new ports, new terminals, a lot of joint projects, joint initiatives, which helped our people to get to know each other. We call them people-to-people actions and initiatives, which were financed through our cross-border cooperation programs with our neighboring countries, and this enabled us to share our experience on one side, but to establish joint initiative, joint SMEs, small and medium enterprises, cultural educational centers on both sides of the borders, in order really to improve, because usually the border regions, the border areas are the poorest areas of each country, and that's why we have dedicated a lot of efforts with the support of the European Union funds, the grant funding of the European Union, to establish special programs, joint programs with all our neighbors. So one of the most successful programs I believe we do have is the one with Romania. We really opened the cooperation there. We really opened the opportunity to share our cultural heritage, our touristic attractions, touristic sites, which we do have a lot in Bulgaria. Something which you might not know about our country, about Bulgaria, we have the chance of having the Black Sea coast, excellent resorts, summer resorts on the Black Sea, but we have beautiful mountain areas and we have beautiful ski resorts as well. We are second in the world. This is something which is unfortunately not well known. We are second in the world in the amounts of mineral water springs after Iceland. Bulgaria is a country which is the richest country after Iceland on the mineral springs. We have more than 600 springs with a different temperature, with a different characteristic of the water. And we do have excellent opportunities there for spa tourism, for mineral water, which can be used now for medical treatments, not only for drinking purposes as well. So this is an opportunity of our country, and this is something which is not well known. And we are a country with rich agricultural industry as well, so we do have excellent wines and wineries, so I invite all of you to join, to come to see our country. And of course the cultural heritage, being on this part of Europe, a lot of people throughout the years, throughout the century passed our country, Thracians, Romans, Slavs and Bulgarians, so we have really unique cultural heritage which we have in our country. That's why one of our oldest cities, the city of Plovdiv, was selected, and it will become the European Cultural Capital of 2019. As the city of Plovdiv in our country is one of the oldest cities in Europe. So this is another opportunity for us through the cultural diplomacy instruments really to share really this cultural heritage and to show where we are and what we do have. We do have some other cross-border cooperation programs, not only with countries like Romania, as I already mentioned, and Greece, which are member of the European Union, and we have common goals, common values, and it's easier to establish projects and really to operate projects in both in the infrastructure, in people-to-people, and youth actions and SMEs, which is easier when we are countries members of the European Union. However, we do have several cross-border cooperation programs as well with other neighbors of our country, which are the Republic of Turkey, Macedonia, and Serbia. These three countries, not members of the European Union, at the moment as well, I might say, suffering from political and economic crisis in their countries. So for the moment, we are surrounded by countries with political and economic challenges. I might say we are trying to be the, let's say, the island of stability on the Balkans, because we saw the results of the elections in Macedonia. We know the situation in Serbia, elections in Romania as well. The situation of Greece was explained recently, so I see that we are still keeping and trying to be the island of stability. So we have excellent experience as well with our neighbors on the cross-border cooperation programs with Serbia, Macedonia, and Turkey. Different religions sometimes, different cultures sometimes, but we managed throughout the years through many programs to invest more than 400 million euro in the cross-border cooperation projects, and the results are obvious. Really, we managed to improve the infrastructure, we managed to establish a lot of SMEs along those regions, and really this provided good opportunities for people to get together and to know each other, and not to be, let's say, to be in the border and not to know each other. So another great opportunity of the cultural diplomacy and cooperating with the countries, not only in the neighboring country, was the new initiative, which was initiated by the European Commission, is to have macro-regional approach. Macro-regional approach meaning that we are working, as I mentioned, on the Danube River, for example. The macro-regional strategy united all countries in the basin of the Danube River passing along the Europe. In this macro-regional strategy on the Danube River, we are not only countries members of the European Union, all countries through which the Danube River is passing through joined in this initiative, and it was quite an interesting and quite a challenging experience as well for all of us. Countries in the Danube region, because we see the different needs, the different challenges, the different problems of the countries, but trying united from the targets, from the objectives of the macro-regional approach, from this strategy to develop better the Danube region and all the countries along the Danube River. Provided a new opportunity and new approach for us to find friends and to have more initiatives working together along the river. I propose that I stop here so we have more time for question and answers, and really not to be ahead of the schedule, because I see that already we have some delays. So thank you very much for your attention, and I'm really open for any questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation and for giving chance to our audience for questions and comments. And first question.
Yes, my name is Judy Miller, and I'm from the United States. Yesterday, a Greek representative, Anna, and I'm not going to be able to pronounce her last name, suggested a macro-European response to the refugee situation. That is, not only the European Union, but those European countries outside the European Union sharing the burden of receiving refugees and being responsible. The idea being that a shared distribution would minimize the impact culturally. My question is, do you agree with that kind of solution, and/or do you see any possibility that that would ever happen? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, indeed, definitely I do agree, even though that agreeing is not enough. Having in mind how challenging it was for us, members of the European Union, countries, members of the European Union, to find and to agree on the approach, on the policies, on the really redistribution, equal distribution between the countries, not only the countries like ours who are really suffering being on the front line, on the borderline. And it was quite a challenge because we do still have certain different opinions, like Hungary, for example, a country which is not following, let's say, the EU agreed objectives for redistribution, for integration of refugees, and so and so. So it was quite a challenge, but indeed, I believe that it's not only the EU countries are the ones who are, let's say, who need to be united and who need to work more to find the solution. We do need to have all the countries around, together with Turkey, especially Turkey. But still, we have their agreements, we have their certain measures undertaken and agreed upon, but we need to involve all other countries. This is the only way to proceed. As I mentioned, my personal thought and belief is that to stop the war, we need peaceful measures, and we need to be more than ever united in those efforts. But I see it's quite challenging because the wave of let's say, the opposition, the wave of the populism, the wave of the nationalism is rising so fast that I'm worried that it might become more challenging than it is now.
Thank you. First of all, I want to agree with you. The best wine I've ever had was definitely in Bulgaria. My question is about what you mentioned about Bulgaria having the second largest growth among European member states economically. I was wondering to what extent you think that part of that is Bulgaria is maintaining its own currency and maintaining a certain level of independence from the rest of the European member states. And if so, if that does play any part in it, what does that say for the rest of the economic situation in Europe and other states that don't have that independence?
Excellent question. You're really right. We had the chance, even in the crisis of 2008, 2009, when all countries, not only in Europe, suffer from the economic crisis. We suffered as well, but not so deeply. The reason behind was that the Bulgarian currency, Bulgarian lev, is fixed with the currency board. Is fixed with the euro, and that provides us really a better starting point in overcoming the crisis. So indeed, we were lucky of having the currency board and the fixed rate. And it helped us a lot in our economy, really, to overcome the crisis. For the moment, we still, I think that, as I mentioned, the statistics, we're having excellent growth and growth results, but they are not so much anymore based and related on the fixed rate. We are preparing to join the Eurozone as well, so we have fulfilled all the requirements and the Maastricht criteria to join the Eurozone, and we are open and really working for this perspective in long term. Of course, it's not an overnight decision or a process to take over. So the fixed, our own rate, but the fixed rate helped us a lot. But still, I think that we need to work for the Eurozone and joining the Eurozone, expanding it.
Czarnogórski, Slovakia. Mrs. Minister, you have told that war cannot be stopped by war, but only by peaceful measures. Could you tell us, please, some kind of peaceful measures that could be applied toward Islamic State?
If the answer was so simple, I'm sure that it would have been applied many times up to now. But in any case, we need to, We need to put all our efforts, all the countries, working against what is happening in Syria, but not with the war measures. This is my personal opinion. This is not an easy answer. This is not an easy question to be given, but this is what I believe in. Thank you. Thank you very much once again.
One more time for your presentation and being with us today. Big round of applause for Minister Lilyana Pavlova.